Hi, Cosmic Cuties. Are you ready to finally stop chasing love and start manifesting it? In my Manifest Your Partner workshop, I'm going to teach you the cosmic secrets to clearing blocks, setting juicy intentions, and actually calling in the love you deserve without settling for crumbs. Head to Cosmic RX to grab instant access because, babe, it's not what you bring to the table, it's remembering you are the table, and it's time to invite your love to sit with you. If astrology isn't real, then why did a record-breaking amount of people flood the streets for the No Kings parade this past weekend, right during the Libra New Moon, amongst some very other interesting astrology that I'm going to break down for you? You just can't make this up. The astrology is astrology, and it's all being a little bit too literal sometimes, but that's why we're here to break it down, to remember that history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. And astrology has the playbook behind the rap battle that we are experiencing right now on planet Earth at this time. And welcome. If you're new here, I'm Maddie Murphy, your high vibe hype woman, your cosmic consultant. And this is a mini-sode bonus podcast we do in addition to our regular weekly energy report where I break down the astrology for you and what it means for the week ahead. This is more of a look back of what happened in this past week in the headlines, in the planetary level, in the pop culture level, on the political level. And how can we either just have fun yapping about it and the astrological meaning, the mystical metaphor behind everything, but also how can we also get some cosmic context so we can understand WTF is happening? Maybe there is a divine plan, and maybe we can even get, I don't know, some guidance, inspiration, or hope core out of this all. Okay, so we're going to be covering a few things this week. We're going to be talking about the No Kings parade, a little recap on that. We're going to be talking about the Louvre jewelry heist. Like, I'm sorry, why was that kind of weirdly romantic? Because Libra season, that's why. We'll get into it. And I'm going to be just reflecting on two charts of people that I would consider to be the cosmic change maker, the revolutionary, the cosmic zone leaders that we need right now. And listen up if you have Mars in a water sign. If you have Mars in Cancer, in Pisces, if you have Mars in Scorpio, this is, I think, something to learn from them. And I will, of course, be doing a little theory corner, a little planetary prediction, just for funsies, I guess. LOL, if we can call it that. So, like I said, you really can't make this up, okay? We had the second of the No Kings parades, right? It's a movement. I believe it's created by the 50150C organization, but it's an organized movement, right? In response to Trump acting like he is the monarch that no one wanted or elected. And this is the second March of this. This one happened. I'm like, did they plan this? Do they have an astrologer? I love this for them. It was during the Libra New Moon weekend, and not just during that Libra lunation, which we know Libra is the sign of justice, balance. In my book, I call Libra the sign of like, we can create harmony. But it was also happened just days after Pluto stationed direct in Aquarius for the first time in our lifetime. This doesn't even feel like, coincidence. This feels like cosmic choreography, and I love it. And we know that, Aquarius, the opposite sign of Aquarius is Leo. Leo is quite literally, the monarch, the ruler. And so very interesting. Pluto and Aquarius, we've been talking about, we've seen disruptions in Hollywood. We've seen disruptions around not just Aquarius things, but the opposite sign, Leo. So Pluto going direct and saying like, we the people. And there was literally signs and costumes and role playing that was nodding to the Revolutionary War, to, the French Revolution. And it's like, yeah, Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius, this is revolutionary times. We've been talking about it for a minute, but now it's been real, right? And the Aquarius key in my book is the future is ours. And I thought so much about the cosmic zone keys this weekend because we have Libra New Moon weekend. We can create harmony, right? that was it in the streets. And everyone, like I said a few weeks ago, everyone has their own note. Everyone has their own like beautiful music to bring so we can create harmony, and showing up with your voice and your expression is so key. And it was so cool to watch people show up, and in truly a very Libra season signature, it was peaceful. It was the biggest protest turnout in US history, and no arrests, no record, nothing on the record about violence from the crowds. That's pretty amazing. I mean, I don't know about you. I went to a state school, and just the violence that would break out when we won like a national tournament was just kind of like par for the course. So really shout out to everyone who gathered in the streets or did the energetic work at home. That was really cool. The other thing that we saw, again, Pluto and Aquarius, the future is ours. It felt like it was just everyone saying like, it's time to rebalance power, and people are starting to catch on more and more. And, Aquarius is the sign of people, innovation, rebellion, getting to the streets, we the people. Aquarius is also the sign of like ancient technology being brought into the future and ancient wisdom. And I have been really happy to hear people talk about like the balance that we need right now of activism in the streets, grassroots organizing, mobilizing, mutual aid, and also like tending to our nervous systems and women's work and circle work and working with the moon and our nervous system and breath work. Because like honestly, like showing up regulated and aligned is part of this revolution. And it felt like a spell. Like that day felt like a spell being woven out. And that was also because, Mercury and Mars were in Scorpio and in the cosmic zone. I just reference the keys because it helps me understand like the archetypal energy and what we are unlocking when we tap into this planetary power. And the astrological activation under the Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio, it brought me to tears because Mercury and Mars says, I will not be shamed in Scorpio. Like Scorpio says, I will not be shamed. And that day I was also thinking, Scorpio also says, I will not be tamed. I will not be, muted. I will not be silenced. I will not just be okay while watching the blatant misuse and abuse of power. Scorpio is ruled in the traditional rulership by Mars, planet of action, warrior god planet. And, Mars takes it to the streets literally. And then in some traditions, in the more modern traditions, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. And again, Pluto is here to disrupt. Pluto is Lord of the underworld. Pluto reveals what is rotten underneath the surface. And it's like, let's look at it. Let's tear it down to build it up again. And interestingly too, the sun was in its fall in Libra. And, the only thing that could be interesting to me is like the sun in some, traditions can represent the leader or the monarch. And so like the sun in Libra is like, there is no monarch. It is us, right? Like we rule each other. We take care of each other. We protect each other. And so the sun symbolizing kings and leaders really being challenged, humbled. And of course, in this relationship with Pluto, felt like a big moment, but also big moments. Everything is like a pinball machine right now. And that brought us to, I think, one of the most visual symbols that we will look back on in history books of this time, and also of the Pluto and Aquarius, the French Revolution of it all, the crumbling of, the corruption and the everything that the shadow energy of this country was built on. When we saw days later, in classic narcissist response, classic narcissist temper tantrum energy, Trump did what he absolutely promised in a bold-faced lie that he would not do, which was taking an excavator and tearing up, I believe it was the East Wing of the White House. Of course, the East Wing is also where traditionally the First Lady's offices are. I just can't help but laugh because it's so literal. I'm like, oh, the part of the White House where women were allowed to like hang out and make meaning and have impact. It was the part you literally ripped down to build your gaudy ass ballroom. It's just so on the nose with French Revolution energy, right? Let them eat cake. We don't have money to feed the poor, but we have the money to start wars in our own country, to have war in our own streets. Another reaction from this week, New York being a blue city was definitely one of the biggest turnouts or a strong turnout. And we have this really big election coming up that's going to be challenging a lot of the status quo for the mayoral race. And we saw some really violent, unnecessarily over the top shows of force and aggression blocks from my house on Canal Street on Broadway. And all of this that what happened in the White House feels like, yes, like the more they react like that, the more they know that we, the people, are trying to organize, trying to mobilize, and saying this is not it for us. So again, they have money for war on Americans' own citizens. I mean, I saw videos of just people like me, like everyday people walking to work, getting involved to protect their neighbor and getting, hit, pushed, shoved. And I'm like, oh, this is what our tax dollars are going for. Cool. We've spent enough money on ICE. I was listening to an economist talk, enough money on ICE this year that we could have for the next decade, free childcare for up to age 5 for everyone in this nation. Think about that. Like, and of course, fact check me on that. But that, and just the numbers that are being thrown around, Kristi Noem's private jets and this ballroom, there is going to be a point where you take away people's food stamps, their health insurance. Marjorie Taylor Greene herself talked about. Did anyone see that? How her children, their healthcare premiums are doubling. And she's like, this is not okay. You do that while you're building a gaudy ass ballroom in front of the American people. That is a spitting in the face. It's like we know corruption happens, but usually it's behind closed doors. It's on back rooms, back alleys, below tables. This is in front of our face. And that felt like such a Pluto in Aquarius moment, like the wrecking ball, the excavation of the old. And in some ways it's so hard. In other ways, I'm like, this is what has to happen, in my opinion. But it doesn't mean we don't protest, we don't fight, we don't organize, but it's part of, right? It's part of what is unfolding. And that felt like an actual tower card moment, like the literal tower card. So as we move into this, like we're going to be seeing, I'm going to talk about it later, the upcoming full moon, we're going to continue to see 2025, I just want to remind us, has been one of the fastest, most intense years in human history. It's just, I've talked about it before, but the sheer amount of planetary movement is unprecedented. So if you feel like that, you're not making it up. It's not just you. And I do believe the arc of this is bending towards justice, the moral arc of the universe. And I don't just believe that because I'm a hippie lover at heart. I believe it because of, again, the cycles of history we're in and because of collective consciousness and awareness and what I see happening. So if you're in the New York area too and you want to come, I am doing a Rituals for the Revolution. It's on Sunday, November, I believe that's 23rd, that weekend, with Amanda Baudier, a really high integrity spiritual teacher, leader, but just a down-ass chick, someone I really admire. We are going to be talking about grassroots activism and organization, but also somatic rituals, astrological magic, shamanic work that we can also do, because that's part of Pluto and Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign. It's about energy. And everything is always about energy, but you're going to notice that more and more. The energetics in which you bring to every interaction, to your neighborhood, to your community, to your relationships, to your art, to your work, to how you shop, to how you eat, is all going to make a difference, right? Over the next, especially a few years. Yes. So, so many beautiful things that were happening during that No King's Day astrology. And the last thing I just wanted to point out, I wrote it down here. I thought it was interesting that Trump was inaugurated with a Sun-Pluto conjunction. And I'm being like, oh, yikes, that's kind of intense. Sun in Aquarius conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. So then the day of the protest, the Sun had a closing square to Pluto while Pluto stationed direct. And it just felt like such a natural consequence to what was being activated during the inauguration, what's been happening in this administration since then, and really shining a light, right, on this, again, plutonic energy below the surface. And I thought that was beautiful. And we're going to have more Pluto action coming up in November and December. And I'll give you a scoop on that in a moment. But let's shift gears. Okay, let's shift gears into, what am I taking my notes here? Into the Louvre, a little pop culture moment. Is this pop culture? It kind of is. The Louvre heist. Why did this feel so romantic? And also, like, yeah, we always know, like, these jewels in the Louvre, like, who do they really belong to? Where do they come from? But if you missed it, there was an actual, like, thriller movie moment in Paris this week. Thieves used, like, power tools and scooters. It was all very analog. I think that's also what made my heart feel like, oh, simpler times. This wasn't some AI chat bot hacking the mainframe, wireframe. This was just a ragtag crew of, people coming together. It was like Ocean's 11 and being like, let's get off with these priceless jewels in broad daylight. I mean, even the astrology of it is so interesting. And I think the head of the Louvre stepped down. They said, interestingly, some of the alarm system wasn't working leading up to it. Mercury is in its shadow right now. And Mercury is quite literally the planet that connects us to, like, the god of thieves. Some people call Mercury, when it joined forces with Scorpio, Mars and Scorpio this week. Mars is kind of like the bold warrior, a little brazen, right? And that Scorpio is like, we're doing something kind of stealth mode. And it was just before the new moon in Libra, this very Venusian time. And Venus is, rules all things beauty, jewels. And I did the chart for the actual, like I said, they came in at 9:30 a.m. in Paris time, which was a Scorpio ascendant. So it was like Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio all rising, and some kind of signature of, like, stealth, intelligence, meticulous action, surgical precision, and kind of like an almost like, well, fuck, like sense of willpower or force or, like, brazenness. Cause, like, I would be like, shitting my pants. Like, can we just talk about that? I would never be able to pull this off, even if I wanted to. But yeah, Mercury and Scorpio, Mars and Scorpio. Mercury can think in, like, very interesting layers, work and plan invisibly, move through the shadows. I think about that Catherine Zeta-Jones movie from back in the day with Sean Connery when she's, like, moving through the lasers. And Mars and Scorpio can do the same thing and act very, very controlled, very intensely. And there's such, like, an astrological allegory in all of this. And I thought it was kind of cool that, like, it felt like sort of this emblematic representation of this mystical mischief in the air with this astrology, with all of this Scorpio, all this Venus, Libra energy. And also it felt a little like Pluto and Aquarius, just because, like, defying and this invisible gesture, denying some sort of, like, the visible power, right, of these institutions, these museums. I'm looking up what jewels were stolen. 8 items were taken, and it says diadems, a jeweled headband, ooh la la la, necklaces, earrings, and brooches, all from the 19th century and once belonged to French royalty or imperial rulers. Wife of Napoleon, an empress, Queen Marie Amélie. And, this is, again, there is something astrological about this, right? Pluto in Aquarius, like, disrupting something around this, like, sense of royalty or regal energy, or again, like, that is for the royalty. And while the people, especially in France, is also going through a lot of Pluto return, going through a lot of disruption, a lot of dissatisfaction with the government, with bureaucracy. So it felt interesting. And also at the time of this robbery, the chart has a Leo midheaven. And I thought it was kind of interesting because, like, the Leo midheaven, like, this caught the world stage. There was something, again, almost like romanticized Hollywood about it. Again, Leo connects to royalty. And very interesting, there's an asteroid on the midheaven called Apollon. And I guess Apollon is the name of the hall where the theft occurred. If astrology isn't real, like, you just can't make this up. So the theft unfolded in the heart of beauty, right, on the eve of this Libra new moon, all ruled by grace, inside Apollo's own temple, while Apollo the asteroid was lighting up the most public part of this chart. So the sky is mirroring such a scene, right? And it is sort of feels like, again, this protection of what's ancestral, cultural, beloved, but Pluto in Aquarius is there's disruption, right? There is something happening. There is revolution. And I'm curious if you're watching this on YouTube, let me know your thoughts. That some people are outraged. Some people thought it was adorable and cute. Some people think it's like just, again, another, not that these people deserve this jewelry necessarily, but that there is something there that feels like a symbol of the moment of people. If you're going to like ignore the demands of the people are going to start doing things for themselves. So we will see. And I bet you there's going to be more to this story that is going to unfold as Mercury moves out of Scorpio, as Mars moves out of Scorpio, and as Mercury begins to retrograde around November 9th or 10th in Sagittarius. We might understand and have a light shown on this situation. We might learn more about the situation, the people. But yeah, I think that there was something very like a mirroring in the collective psyche around what happened there. So you let me know. Okay, before we get into some charts and some people that I've been admiring in the news and in the world stage, just a little theory corner, just a little heads up. We have this Taurus full moon coming up on November 5th. Let me just pull the exact date for you. And in Scorpio and Taurus, like again, the Scorpio energy is always going to reveal, and Taurus energy is a lot about our security and our financial security. And Scorpio connects to shadows, to power, to sexuality. So I just want to give us all a heads up that probably around this time, we will be experiencing another big shakeup around things like financially, politically, more headlines around money, power, accountability. I'm feeling like by then we probably will have the government will be open again. But there's a similar astrology happening now as there was in July, and that is when the big, beautiful bill was passed. And that is when the Epstein file thing really emerged full force, or this like whole new, almost like energy of its own. So I would say that like again, the Scorpio revealing something Epstein file or something around like Taurus, Taurus rules or resources or stability. And there's going to be the full moon, especially in this, like these crazy political times, brings things up to the surface. Okay. Revelations, redistributions, reevaluations. So just, keep an eye on that. And there will be, again, that Pluto and Aquarius squaring the full moon, not like in a super direct, super tight square, but definitely activating that. And again, like this Pluto is such the living embodiment, the mystical mirror, right, of the celestial storyteller of what's happening here on Earth to help us understand it more. So let's pay attention to that. And as always, I love the idea of anchoring, the Earth in different realms with using the new moons and full moons, not only for our personal manifestation practices, but to throw some cosmic creativity, some joyful reimagining, some love, some hope core into the collective as well. So I invite you to do that. Okay. So to wrap up now, and I have always so many things to talk about, so many things I want to say, but this is already 30 minutes. I try and keep these mini-sodes. It's hard. She's got a lot to say. Okay, so what do we do with all of this, right? And astrology isn't here to scare us. It's here to show us this blueprint of this awakening, and we all have a role in this revolution. So when I see certain people on the world stage, and I'm like, fuck yeah, they're badass. I'm like, what can we learn from their chart? So two people that I've been just clocking a lot, Dochi, you hear me talk about them all the time. I love Dochi. I love their work. I love who they are as a person. I love how they're just the breath of fresh air I've been waiting for in terms of artists for the revolution, and everything from their speeches at award shows to how they carry themselves to even I saw Dochi doing one of those like what's in my bag Vogue kind of like whatever those things are, and they were like, this product, and this is like this Audre Lorde book. And I was like, oh, that's so hot. Like, that's so hot. Like more of this. And the other person is Renee Rapp. And I love Renee Rapp. I think I originally found her on a show, Secret Life of College Girls. But since then, I feel like she's really exploded, come into her own as a queer actress, an artist, and just saying whatever the F she wants. There's something so refreshing about her. Like everything from politically, how she shows up, but to just like, I watched this like chaotic get ready with me with her. And it was so relatable of like, she's like, I don't know what this lipstick is. This lip liner's broken. Well, what am I doing? And I was like, I love this. Like, it was so refreshing. It's so raw. It's so real. So in general, both of these humans have so much going for them. And one of those things is just being raw, being real, being authentically themselves, which is something we hear so much. It can be so cliche, but being authentically you is just like truly tuning in with what feels real to you and not wasting precious energy on masking yourself, on pretending to be something you're not, on dimming a part of yourself, on toning down your too muchness, right? Or trying to play by the rules of someone else's game for some made up sense of external validation. Because as we're learning, none of that matters. None of that means anything, especially looking for validation from people you don't even respect, from institutions you don't even respect, right? And Renee and Dochi, hold to me a new archetype of power: emotional, magnetic, artistic, unstoppable, revolutionary, transformative. And this reminder that power in its truest sense is not here to dominate, right? It's like a magnet that helps us flow better. It's like seductive and sexy. It helps us heal. And the revolution, it's not just about burning it all down. It's also about building something better. And I noticed in both of their charts, there were so many things that were fun about them. But one of the big things I noticed, and I just wanted to call this out because I got a lot of questions on this. I had an event this week and I got a question on this very thing, is Renee has, Cap Sun, Pisces Moon. We love that. Venus in Sag, but her Mars is in Pisces. So her Mars is in a water sign. Dochi has a ton of fire. It's like Leo Sun, Leo Rising, Mercury, Venus, Leo, Taurus Moon, and Dochi's Mars is in Cancer. So in both of these badasses, in both of these cosmic baddies, bad bitches with good hearts, I'm like, oh, they both have water Mars signs. And this is a question I get a lot from people: is how do I work with my water Mars? Like, Mars is a linear, forward moving, hot planet, right? It wants to be direct, it wants to take action. And in the water signs, there's a fluidity. It's actually usually not direct. It's like, how do you have like a rocket missile, but it like shoots out water? Where does it go? How do we understand that? But water is really powerful, right? Water, the ocean is really powerful. Fire hoses are really powerful. Power washers are really powerful. So there is power in that. But what it is like that water energy has to have things emotionally on 100, like being really real with your feelings, with the vibe, with energy. And Mars in water signs, Mars in the Cancer and Scorpio and Pisces, need to be fueled by emotions, emotional truth about doing the things that matter to them, right? Acting on their empathy, on compassion, acting on the heart energy. And it actually makes for really great art because it's compelling. Comes from a place of conviction. It's magnetic. It's real. So again, I just invite you, if you have a Mars and water sign, watch the two of these artists and see what you can really learn from them. There's something very interesting. And again, it might not be that direct, obvious Mars, like a Mars in Aries or, whatever, I don't know, other Mars in Capricorn or something. But like, the energy of a Mars and water sign has the ability to really transform, to be motivated by emotional depth and transformation and truth. And we really need that. Okay. And as we move further into what I've been calling like the world of AI slopaganda, where everything is like optimized and ChatGPT and artificial intelligence, it's like the true AI is in your astrological intelligence, is in understanding your authenticity, is how to connect on a human level, because we're all going to be needing that, craving that, wanting that more and more. Okay. So that's where I'm going to leave you for today. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know in the comments, how you feel about some things I shared, if there's anything you want me to dig into next. And I'll just leave you with, if astrology isn't real, then why are the cosmos just dropping these planetary receipts nonstop? I am just here to keep picking them up and interpreting them from me to you so we can hopefully all stay a little bit in the place of feeling grounded and feeling regulated and excited for our role in this revolution. Until next time, I'll see you in 2 weeks on If Astrology Isn't Real. Mwah. Do you love getting your Cosmic RX for the week here and want more? Make sure to sign up for our premium subscription so you can get exclusive access to bonus podcast episodes, all of my astrology info for the month ahead, and live new and full moon calls to help you manifest your dream life with an intentional, international community of other cosmic baddies. Sign up through our link in show notes. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you want to know more about Cosmic RX, head on over to thecosmicrx.com. And if you really love this show, I'd love it if you left a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. I super love hearing from you and reading your reviews. All right, you cosmic baddie, tune in next week. And until then, remember, love yourself fully, work your magic, and take no shit.